What's up everybody, and welcome back to another action figure review. Today, we're checking out the McFarlane Toys Batman from the hit comic Batman Hush. Now I want to give a big shout out and thank you to McFarlane Toys for supplying me with this action figure. Now this is my favorite Batman look of all time and one of my favorite Batman stories. I highly recommend checking out the comic if you haven't yet. Now I'm a huge fan of the gray and blue attire on Batman, not to mention that bright yellow Rob Liefeld-esque style inspired utility belt with the massive pouches. It is so 90s, it hurts, and I think that's why I absolutely love this Batman. Now before we take a look at the figure inside, let's check out the packaging. This is your standard McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse style box. It's black, it's slick, and it's slim. I really love the design of the packaging here, and I appreciate the large window box where we can actually see the figure in all of its bat glory inside. Now behind the figure itself, we see the base and the collectible art card, and here in front we have his accessories, that being 2 batarangs and 2 swappable hands. Gotta appreciate the swappable hands. Let's take a look at the spine of this figure. We have Batman, and that's it. DC Multiverse logo, that's all you need. Let's take a look at the back here. This is my favorite part of the packaging, of course. It is a wonderful, wonderful, marvelous shot of the Batman here in that Jim Lee style. Jim Lee is the one that penciled the Batman Hush comic, and I just love it so much. It reminds me of old 90s X-Men, Jim Lee's X-Men, of course, so I think that's why I love this Batman so much. It just brings me back and gives me a huge nostalgia kick in the face, and I absolutely love this. I love the architecture that Batman is on here with the gargoyle. I just love that pose. I love that nice cape flowing back here and all the black and shadows and all that contrast. Let's take a look at the last panel here. Batman Hush in large text format. Love that with the DC Multiverse logo. That is the packaging for Batman Hush, everybody. And he's already a top 5 contender for best action figures because he just looks so amazing. Let's bust him out of here and take a look at the McFarlane Toys Batman from the comic Batman Hush. So here he is, everybody, our Batman from the comic Batman Hush, and boy does he look absolutely awesome. There's no other word to describe it. I am absolutely in love with this action figure. Let's take a look at all the details and the sculpture work. First thing before we get into all the articulation and whatnot, let me just bring Batman a little bit closer here. Starting with his head, look how detailed that is. I love the paint deco on here, especially his head. There's a lot of black underneath his eyes just to give it more of a little menacing look. Very cool, lots of shadow in there. Even a nice paint job on his face. There's a little paint deco on his lips as well. One of my favorite parts about this head sculpt are the ears. I love how small they are. I like that you can actually see his actual human ears popping out of the side of his cowl like that. Very, very cool. Let's take a look at actually my favorite part about this entire figure is the cape. Look how beautiful that is. I love everything about that. I love the teeth on the spikes down here. And if we flip to the inside of the teeth here, you can see a lot of black shadow and blue in there. I love the black, just gives it a little bit more depth into the figure. And I love this part, this little rubber flap that kind of goes over his knee so you can get him in a cool pose, and the cape kind of goes over his knee, gives it a little bit more dynamic look to him. Can't forget to mention the utility belt. I love that. As I mentioned earlier, it reminds me of the 90s Rob Liefeld, Cable, and I love pouches. Give me more pouches, the better. Now let's just take a look at his boots. Very, very cool sculpt on his boots. I like the little point lip that goes up there to the knee. This figure is mirrored on both sides, so there's not going to be too much difference between each side. Now let's look at the spikes on his gauntlet. Those teeth look really, really nice. They're hard as well. I love the abdomen here. You can see all the nice sculpture work with all the abs here going through the front. You can see all the wrinkles in the lower torso of Batman's chest there. And actually the details go all the way to the back. You can see a little bit of detail in his lower spine there. The sculpt is absolutely tremendous. The wrinkles, in his diaper trunks here as well. Just like little hints of details everywhere, but that is McFarlane Toys for you, right? They're just covered in details from head to toe. Honestly, I don't think I could ask for a better Batman. Now, he does come with the standard DC Multiverse base. Now, the base isn't so much needed for this action figure. He does stand up pretty well on its own thanks to the heavy cape. He kind of just, you know, weighs him down a little bit. Just get him in a pose like that, and you don't really need the base. But the base, of course, does add a lot more stability, so it adds a little flavor and spark to your shelf too. So I am a big fan of the DC base. As well as the base, he comes with 2 alternate hands. These are fist hands, and one of the hands is actually the kryptonite ring hand. So let me toss that on him. So here's Batman with both of the swappable hands there. Very cool. I love the fist gloves. Actually, the gloves, now that I think about it and look at it, they're actually a little bit different than his standard gloves. You can actually see the details in the original gloves on the back of his hand aren't actually there like on this fist hand. So that's interesting that they decided to leave off these details on his primary hands. Probably won't feature or display him with the kryptonite ring. I do like the batarangs, and speaking of batarangs, he actually comes with 2, which is very cool. The detail on them, they're the exact same, so I'll just show you one. They are very, very nicely sculpted as well. You can see the details in there and the sculpt itself, all the grooves that go, you know, in between all those teeth. Very cool. It's easy for him to hold on to the batarang, not with these hands because they're closed. Like I was saying, they are quite easy to put into his hands, and they kind of just sit there and they look pretty darn awesome. Take a look at that. Let's put the other one in his hand. This one, I don't know what kind of hand it is, but it's not a batarang pose hand. It kind of looks like he's supposed to be holding maybe a grapple launcher or something, but you can put the batarang in that hand, and now he's dual wielding batarang. So that's pretty awesome. There's the accessories that Batman comes with. Oh, and last accessory, it's not an accessory, but he does come, like all DC Multiverse action figures, he does come with a wicked collectible art card featuring the Jim Lee art of Batman that's featured on the back of the box as the Frontier. Love this image. I can't wait to put it in those collector card sleeves. And on the back here, a little bio of Batman and Bruce Wayne. Very, very cool. I do love the collectible art card inclusions in all McFarlane Toys action figures, or at least the DC Multiverse. It's a cool little, like, extra, and again, it reminds me of the 90s. I used to collect superhero cards, and I have a ton of Batman cards, so it's cool to add more and more to the collection. But there he is. That is Batman and all his awesome accessories. Now let's take a look at all of his awesome articulation. Jumping into the articulation, let's check out his legs and work our way up. Now, keep in mind that this figure is the exact same on left and right, so we only need to check one side. So, starting with his legs, he does have nice movement front and back, but again, that diaper, I'm not a fan of the diaper. Except in situations where a figure is wearing trunks like this, I actually love the diaper. The diaper does make a lot of sense, especially on a trunk-wearing fellow like Batman here. Unfortunately, no matter who it is, it does impede on the movement of your figure front and back, as you can see. Adds a lot of strain and stress to that diaper, and now the diaper is going to be permanently stretched the further you move the leg out. So, highly recommend not pushing the leg forward or back, but it's a toy, so it doesn't really matter. Now, he does have, like I said, front and back articulation. He does have a double jointed knee, and it works fairly well. Look at that. Looks great. Good motion. And you can basically capture that pose that's on the card with this knee. Look at that. That's pretty sick. And as you can see here, he does have an ankle rotation. You can rock it left and right, spin it, do what you want. And he does have a toe. And again, you guys, if you know me, I hate the toe bends. He does have a rotation in the bottom half of his torso, as you can see there. He can spin all the way around, but we don't really need to, so I won't. And he does have an upper torso articulation like that. Again, he can rotate all the way around, and he does have some kind of an ab crunch. As you can see, he does crunch a little bit forward and a little bit back. That's as much crunch as you really need in a toy, to be honest. So I think it's quite perfect. Moving on up to his shoulders, this is how high you can move his shoulders. You don't need to lift him any higher than that. He does have a great bicep rotation, and he does have a wicked double jointed elbow, as you can see there. And he does have that rotating swivel wrist, so you can rotate it, move it up and down, and do what you want with it. And as you saw with the accessories, his hands come off no problemo. As you can tell, it is on a butterfly joint, his shoulder and his bicep. It is on a butterfly joint, so you get some really, really good movement in the arms. And last but not least, his head. It does move all the way around 360, and he does have some good movement up and down. One thing that I question about this figure is the peanut head. As you can tell, his neck and his head are one piece. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of that, but it also looks cool. If you think about it, he is wearing a cowl. It would all move at the same time. So to me, it doesn't matter. I'm also not a custom guy. I wouldn't rip his head off and replace it with another head. So any of you out there that are into custom figures, this might be an issue for you. But let's face it, this head is pretty spot on perfect. And I don't know why on earth you would ever want to replace it. I think it's fantastic. So besides the peanut head, the neck articulation is fantastic. And that's about it for all of the articulation on this action figure. Of course, the cape doesn't really move. You can't take it off, but it is nice rubber texture and feeling, so you can move it any way you want. Obviously, there's no wire in it, so you're stuck with just a chunk of rubber. But hey, it looks awesome on display, and that's all you really want in an action figure. And that is why you use the included base, so he doesn't topple over like that. And as always, let's do a little bit of comparison with other action figures on the market here. Now, this is the Hush from McFarlane Toys. This is the official Hush that came out back in 2022. Let's take out Hush here, and let's put in The Rock. Let's put in Black Adam from last year's Black Adam film. Again, you can tell that Batman just is massive compared to him. At least in my eyes, he looks way bigger than the Black Adam. Last but not least, let's put in the Man of Steel Superman. This is the Superman from the McFarlane Toys DC Direct Page Punchers comic book line, and I actually love this Superman. He looks absolutely awesome. Again, though, you can see how much bigger Batman is in compared to both of these action figures. He just kind of towers them. He's just big and stocky. Maybe The Rock should be a little bit bigger, but hey, I'm not gonna complain. I love Batman, big and brute, and all sorts of sizes. So overall, if it didn't come across in the video, I absolutely love this Batman from McFarlane Toys. In my opinion, I think this is the best Batman that we have seen from McFarlane Toys, or at least it is my absolute favorite Batman that they have ever released. He is incredibly detailed with a phenomenal color palette, and I found nothing wrong with any of the details or the paint deco. This figure has come across as perfect to me. At last, we are getting additional swappable hands and extra batarangs. I'm not gonna complain about extra batarangs. Now, if you're not sure about this Batman just yet, I highly recommend you go out, find the comic book, Batman Hush, give it a read, and your mind will be blown. You'll totally change your mind and absolutely want to add this Batman to your collection. Alright everyone, thanks for checking out my review of McFarlane Toys Batman from the comic Batman Hush. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a like, comment down below, let me know if you have this Batman, if you plan on getting this Batman. Let's just talk about Batman down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're into action figure reviews. I'll be posting more photos of Batman Hush on my Instagram, which you can find out at Claudio's Collection, so follow me there for more content. Thanks again for watching, and you can catch me in the next one.